Islam. 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 If there's anything lovely, if there's anything desirable, if there's anything within the reach of man that is worthy of praise, is it not knowledge? And yet, who is it that obtaineth it? The statesman proclaimeth that he have it. The ruler of the people claimeth the praise of it, but findeth the subject that he possesses it. Evil is not requisite to man, neither vice can be necessary to be tolerated. Yet how many evils are committed by the convenience of the laws? How many crimes committed by the decree of the council? But be wise, O rulers, and learn, O thou that art to command the nations. One crime authorized by thee is worse than the escape of 10 from punishment. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise to give praise to Allah. I'd like to give praise to Allah because Allah is the Father of the universe, the Father of the seen, and the Father of the unseen. I'd like to give honor to Allah's holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who reached down into the watery grave of Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast, and set me back upright on my feet again. I'd like to give honor to the forerunner to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Mosai Garvey. I'd like to give honor to Marcus Mosai Garvey because this brother had to have pure thoughts in order to pave the way for love. I'd like to give honor to all literature pertaining to Islam in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'd like to give honor to our two flags, the flag of our origin and the flag of our birth. And honor to our charter with its 10 great wonders and mysteries that gives us the right to function in these United States and throughout the world without molestation of ridicule of any kind. I'd like to give honor to all sheiks and sheikas. I'd like to give honor to all members and friends of distinction. And last but not least, I'd like to give honor to effort because so many of us don't even try. And on that note, I'd like to give a special honor to Temple 2 here in Portland, Oregon, because we are overcoming the things of the world. And when you see a member of our temple, it's going to remind you of Jesus. Because they say when you first saw Jesus, he was climbing up a ladder. And climbing up that ladder, he had 3 things in his hand. And the 3 things that he had in his hand was the compass, the square, and the axe. Now let me stop here for a minute because we're talking about building the temple. And when we're talking about building the temple, we're talking about building the temple of God. And in building the temple of God, there's what is known, the tools of the workshop of the mind. So Jesus had the compass, and we know we use the compass to draw a circle around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. And this is what Drew Ali brought us. He brought us that tool because he's telling us that we have to be in this world, but not of that world. And the things of this world shall have no rule over us, so he brought us a compass. And then he brought us a square, even telling us to stand on the square. And we use the square to measure all our lives, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, to make the corners of your conduct square. So Noble Drew Ali brought us that second tool. And when he brought us that second tool, it helps us make our conduct square. And when you're talking about the square, you're talking about the 45-degree angle. The 4 is the 4 sacred schools of thought, and the 5 is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You talking about 4 and 5 is 9, is man standing upright. And when you study these teachings of the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you'll see where you could rise above the flesh. Because man is not the body nor the soul. He's a spirit and the part of Allah. Praise Allah. At this time, I'd like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran. We call it the Book of the Seven Seals, that they talk about in Revelations, that none was able to open and read from its sacred pages the messages of purity and love. Now, I'm getting ready to read this chapter to you. Now, when I look at the top of this Moorish Holy Quran, it says the divine instructions. And when I look on the other side, it says from the Holy Prophet. So if we have divine instructions, the same instructions that Jesus had, we too are being divinely prepared. But in being divinely prepared, we learn as we grow that you can't serve two masters at the same time. You can't straddle the fence. What do I mean by that? This past week, they had a brother, and I seen him on Facebook, and he had a liquor bottle in one hand, and he had a big cigar in the other hand. And he told me to work out my own life sums and stop worrying about his. I'm secured. I'm in the Moorish Science Temple. Noble Drew Ali brought us a holy and divine movement. And if this is a holy and divine movement, and you say you respect, and you say you honor the prophet, and you know this is a holy and divine movement, and you gonna get on Facebook and disrespect Drew Ali like that, it's not right, and it's wrong. And that's why I always love the spirit of Brother William Porter Hill, because he would slap that cigar out your mouth. And I might do it. But at this time, I want to read from the Moorish Holy Quran, the Book of the Seven Seals that none was able to open, as we said. And the chapter I'm going to read today is chapter 8. And the reason why I want to read from chapter 8, because we studied Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. And when we begin to talk about Buddha, and then we begin to talk about Confucius, we're talking about the eightfold path. We're talking about reincarnation, because 8 is the number of reincarnation. It's the 7 and the 9. The 8 is in the middle. So I'm going to read from this chapter. And the title of the chapter that I'm going to read from this evening is Jesus Reveals to the People of Their Sinful Ways. Now, this is going to be a spiritual sinful way. But when you call yourself Negro, colored, and black, it's a sinful way. Because Drew Ali say, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing of. And we taking on all these concepts, we taking all these ideologies when the book say, give it back to Caesar. Give back to Caesar what belonged to Caesar. So now I'm going to read this chapter. And the title is, Jesus Reveals to the People of Their Sinful Ways. And I'll start here, verse 1. In all the city of Arissa, Jesus taught. At Kitta by the riverside he taught. And thousands of people followed him. One day, a car of juggernaut was hauled along by scores of frenzied men. And Jesus said, behold, a form without a spirit passes by. A body with no soul, a temple with no author. This car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. This car is but an idol of a people drunk on wine of carnal things. Allah lives not in the noise of tongues. There is no way to him from any idol shrine. Allah's meeting place when man is in the heart, and in a still small voice he speaks, and he who hears is still. And all the people said, teach us to know the Holy One, who speaks within the heart, Allah of the still small voice. And Jesus said, the Holy Breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the Spirit of the Holy One. But in their image, man was made. And he who looks into the face of man looks at the image of Allah who speaks within. And when man honors man, he honors Allah. And what man does for man, he does for Allah. And you must bear in mind. that when man harms in thought or word or deed another man, he does a wrong to Allah. If you will serve Allah, who speaks within the heart, just serve your near kin and those who are no kin, the stranger at your gate, the foe who seeks to do you harm. Assist the poor and help the weak. Do harm to none and covet not what is not yours. Then with your tongue the Holy One will speak, and he will smile behind your tears, will light your consciences with joy, and fill your hearts with peace. And then the people asked, to whom shall we bring gifts? Where shall we offer sacrifice? And Jesus said, our Father Allah asks not for needless waste of plant, of grain, of dove, or lamb. That which you burn on any shrine, you throw away. No blessings can attain to one who takes the food from hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. When you would offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gift of game or meat and lay it on the table of the poor. From it an incense will rise to heaven, which will return to you with blessedness. Tear down your idols, they can hear you not. Turn all your sacrificial altars into the fuel of the fire. Make human hearts your altar and burn your sacrificial services altar. Make human hearts your altar and burn the sacrifice with the fire of love. And all the people were entranced and would have Jesus as a God. But Jesus said, I am your brother man, just come to show the way to Allah. You shall not worship man, praise Allah, the Holy One. Thus we just had a reading of the Moorish Holy Quran, divinely prepared by our Holy Prophet, Noble Jew Ali, for our earthly and our divine salvation. Praise Allah and honor the Prophet. I got a lot to talk about today. Brother Meriwether, the brother that's the minister down on our miracles. He's supposed to came here today because I wanted to talk about a funeral that we was at the other day with Breezy. And then her father, Eddie Ritchie, is in town, so I wanted to talk about that too, because it has a lot to do with Mac Dishman. But the preacher didn't come, and Eddie done gave me the story so many times, he didn't have to come all the way up here. I'm going to talk about his poem. But before I do that, I want to talk about what I just read in this Moorish Holy Quran. Because as I study, and it's talking about a car of Jagannath. And it talks about like a block of wood, because when I see Jagannath, I see a block of wood. And I want to apply this. I don't want to apply it to you. I want to apply it to myself. Because the book say, when you study yourself, you study them. And then in the 23rd song, and now you might say, well, what is he doing talking about the 23rd song, where you read the book of Ruth? It said Ruth was a Moabite. And Ruth had some grandsons named Solomon and David. So if Ruth is a Moabite and the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, I could talk about Solomon and I can talk about David, because this is the Star of Solomon. This flag right here, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center that was flying here in the United States, when it wasn't even being flown in Morocco. Let me reiterate that, because you can see prophethood. This flag right here was flying in the United States when it wasn't even being flown in Morocco, because we had this flag here since 1913. This flag was put back up in Morocco in 1956. So we talking some real stuff now. We talking about prophethood now. We're not talking Negro, colored, and black talk. We talking about nationality, because nationality is the order of the day. And Noble Jew Ali told the Moorish Americans, because it came from Allah, he said the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. And those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatment that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin, hey, it is a sin, hey, for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. Now, we keep talking about unity. We keep talking about, as black people, we need to come together. But the only way that we could come together and be able to demonstrate a particular science to this government, you got to be who your forefathers were. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So when we begin to talk about Abraham or Boaz, you're going way back there to the beginning of our genealogy when Solomon and David wrote the Psalms. Jesus was not even born yet. So when we're talking about the Lord is my shepherd, we're not talking about Jesus, even though he is of that spirit. And if you are shaking you into your lesson, you are of that spirit. But Jesus was on the cross. And when they put Jesus on the cross, guess what that sheik said? He said, Lord, oh Lord, why have thou forsaken me? So when they put Jesus on the cross, he was talking to God because he's only the Son of God. And when Jesus said, what I've done all men can do, and what I am all men should be, you could be the Son of God too. Because you have the Son of God, and you have the Son of Man. The Son of God lives according to the fruits of the Spirit, lives according to the Kalima Shahada, lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The Son of Man don't tell him what you might be, because you are of the earth. And man is not the body nor the soul. See, we fell from the spirit to the soul, down here the plane of things made manifest. So now we're looking at this chapter. And in this chapter, it says that when you offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gifts of grain of meat and lay it on the tables of the poor. With this morning, it was a brother and a sister that was gave their life, and they was a member of the Catholic Church, a priest and a nun. And they say, well, it's our birthday, and can somebody give us a shout out? You know, when I used to see people walking around with crosses, I had to put my hand up and get kind of, you know, on guard, because whenever you see a cross, then you know these are the ones that crossed Jesus, that nailed Jesus on the cross. You know, but what took place was when they nailed Jesus on the cross, in this Quran, it tells us about Jesus being the Buddha of enlightenment. We studied Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. And being that Jesus was the Buddha of enlightenment, when they put Jesus on the cross and put the nails in his hand, because he was the only brother on earth that passed that chamber lesson that he could have the nail prints in his hand and on his feet, the spirit left the body. Jesus' spirit left the body. When they took him down, put him in the tomb, he came back. The spirit, because he might have been in India, and he might have been in Africa, no telling where that spirit was. So it came back. So you got to understand, let me show you what I mean. There was a funeral the other day, and the sister Breezy, Eddie's daughter. And we was in the church. And we was in the church, a lot of churches, preach try to get people to be baptized. Come on up. Come on, let God know. Man, you should have had all them people that was in there. A lot of people wanted to get up there and say something about that sister's character because I heard him say it. But the preacher got up there and started, then people was saved in the church. But you have to understand. And then he said that the only way you can get to heaven, you got to be a Christian. So if you ain't a Christian, you ain't gonna get to heaven. That was disrespectful. Breezy's uncle is a Muslim, sitting right over there. He say assalamu alaikum to me. So when you go to a funeral to see somebody and pay your respect, don't get up there and talk about nobody else's religion, because you do that, you putting yourself in jeopardy, because it's not unfair. And a lot of men ain't gonna take that. But when we go to a funeral, we say it all the time. And we see somebody laying up there in a casket. They're going to Lynch-Bey right there. I just told this last Friday. They're going to Lynch-Bey laying up in the casket, but Lynch-Bey might not be there. Because man is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. So the body remaining perfect after it is fled. What I mean is, what had fled from the body, which was the spirit. Because it's the spirit that actuates and directs the flesh. So you lay up and see a casket, that person don't have to be there. But let me tell you this. Don't tell me that when a person dies, they go on to heaven because of a religion that they're in. Because when you're dealing with religion, a religion ain't going to get you to heaven. It's going to be the spirit that you carry. That's why the book says you meet God in the spirit and in truth. So if you're not of that spirit, because we study Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. But if you study Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius in a scattered way, you're not going to get to heaven until you overcome. Because heaven is a state of mind. Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators and make our own. We got to make a heaven right here on earth. That's why you have the first plane, which is the spirit, the second plane, which is the soul, the third plane, which is the plane of things made manifest, which is third heaven. We got to make heaven right here on earth. So now, say for instance that I pass form. Everybody whooping and booping. But I might don't go to the plane of soul. What do that mean? If I have not overcame my foes down here on that plane of things made manifest, I'm not going to move up just like in school. You have the first grade, you have the second grade, you have the third and fourth. But to get to the second from the first, you get report cards, you get tests, and you have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to elevate into that next level. So if you haven't elevated, if I haven't elevated and I'm still bowed down to carnal things and don't have the strength to give my life a willing sacrifice, I'm going to stay down here. That's why Drew Ali say, many ages, man going to tarry until all his lessons are learned. You know about the spirit. I was telling the Moors in the holy day this Friday that when I first went to a particular town that wasn't my town, when I got there, I had already been there. I think everywhere we went, I knew exactly where I was going. I remember some morning, my partner said it happened too. I tried to get up some morning and I can't get up. I can't get up because the spirit had not come back in the body yet. Because I ain't laying here no telling where. So we talking about the spirit now. See, we ain't talking about no holy roly. And we ain't not talking about the booger man. We're talking about the Spirit of God. So Drew Ali gave us these tools of the workshop of the mind where things are made of thought and where we build up character. So we say this is the temple of God. Yes, this is the temple of God. Let me say it again. On minister papers in the Morris Science Temple of America, it says set aside temples. And you run around and get a big old temple and all that stuff is real beautiful. But the temple that we're trying to save is the temple within. We're trying to get you to overcome these things of the world so you can go to another plane. We fell from the spirit to the soul to the plane of things made manifest. Now we got to go back. We here on the plane of things made manifest. We got to go back to the soul and to the spirit, because the soul is the ether of the spirit plane, vibrating not so fast. Let me share this with you. I'm going to tell you what I went through on the plane of soul. Say that there's a plane of soul, and that Drew Ali say the body remaineth perfect after it is fled. And he say the soul is impressionable, but the soul is also pure. You know, so when you have the plane of soul, say that you try to overcome smoking a stupid cigarette. How do you overcome? Well, you wrestle with it on the plane of soul. Now, two things going to happen. You have a spirit plane or you have a physical plane. And if you're trying to overcome something, if you overcome it on the physical plane, that means that you crave for it, and you crave for it, and you crave for it. Sometimes you pick it up. And when you pick it up, that means that you're still dealing with it on the plane of things made manifest. But when you stop picking it up, then you begin to wrestle with it on the plane of soul. See, because the soul is perfect, you know, and even in the bosom of a fool. So when you begin to overcome that cigarette and you stop craving for it, then you become fruition in that lesson. Now you have to move on to another foe to become fruition in it. I've seen it. I've seen brothers overcome things that I haven't overcome. I've seen brothers haven't overcome things that I've overcome. That's why we have congregational prayer. Because when you have congregational prayer, we all come together. And I learn from you, and I learn from me. We're in the Spirit. And then we'll try the Spirit, we'll test the Spirit, and we'll see, are we from the same Spirit. But so you know he's talking about, he leadeth me beside the still waters. And so you got to be still to hear the still small voice that's talking to you. So God talks to you within. You know when they say Jesus went into the wilderness for self-examination, and he went in there for 40 days and 40 nights. We are taught in the Moorish Science Temple of America that the four is the four sacred schools of thought. So when Jesus went into the wilderness, what did he carry with him? He carried the four sacred schools of thought. And he told himself, he was talking to himself, he said, man, by many times I'm bound down to this carnal life. Have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for man? Because God gave us a will to choose. I was talking to a sister just before I come here, Lila Sanders, my friend. And we was talking about the devil and Lucifer and how we say often that the devil made me do it. I know the devil made you do it because you was the devil that did it. See, when we begin to talk about Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast, there are attributes that live in you, and there are attributes that live in me. I'm Lucifer. I'm Satan. I'm devil. I'm the dragon. I'm the beast. Let me tell you what I taught again in Sunday school, because really those brothers not here, so I'm going to talk about that. Now, when you begin to look at yourself and talk about what the devil did or what Lucifer did, the devil and Lucifer and Satan and all those people are attributes. These are attributes. And as I taught, you know, I had some friends of mine. I said, hey, man, go by their house. I know they got a wife at home. They married. They're trying to build something in their community. They're trying to learn to love instead of hate. They're struggling, but they all right. For me, I went and knocked on the door. I said, look here, man, let me holler at you outside. He came outside and said, I know we can go get this money at. I know we can go get some money, then it'll make things better for everybody else. You know who I was? I was Satan. Because the book says Satan go to and fro the earth, seeking who I may devour. If I go by knowing a man got children and have a wife at home, and I say, come on, let's take our money and get high. Let's take our money and do this. Let's go do. It's disrespectful to the children. I really don't care for his wife. I say I do, and I put it on Satan. But the lesson is self. Know what you at least say, know thyself. And all the walls of Egypt, they had written, know thyself. Now, it didn't say know thyself. It didn't say know thyself. Now, a lot of times, brothers, I'm like, hide yourselves. That's something slick. But see, we ain't talking about oneself, because we're going to crush one of them under our feet and tame the other to our purpose. And for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. And how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish America? By teaching them to be themselves. Yourself. Who are you? You're Asiatic Muslim. That's who you are. That ain't got to do with your religion. Your religion, what is your nationality? And what is your religion? But who are you? You're Asiatic Muslim. Why are you Asiatic Muslim? Because you're Asiatic. Because there wasn't but two formulations in the whole world. Asiatic or European. And you sure not European. Why am I not European? Because that's Johnny who came lately. The whole world was called Asia. We know about the continental drift. We know about Pangea. We understand certain lessons. And if we just don't want to apply those lessons, we use our weaknesses as an excuse. And Drew Ali took all the excuses with him. He gave us this in the literature, so you have no excuses. Now we are talking about the will. We still at the funeral. You know how the will, when somebody passed from, how they leave you a will? They leave you a will, and in its measure, you have a will to choose. God gave us a will. God gave all of us a will, so stop putting it on the devil. You're just weak. How do I know? Because I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to nobody else. But when I study myself, I study you. My best friends are in the gang. All my friends get high. All my friends fornicate. And all my friends do everything that's diametrically opposed to what God said. And some of them still around in the gang. But I be with them every day. I talk to them every day. You know why? Because birds of a feather flock together. Now, we keep talking about unity. Everybody keep talking about unity. But until we come into unity with ourselves and God, then it won't be no unity. Because the book says, through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from God, debased himself. You separate yourself from God when you stop doing the things that God say do. He said, learn to love instead of hate. Treat your brothers and sisters right. Live a moral and clean life. Be an upright citizen. Stop straddling the fence. He tells us all of these things. And if we can't do those things, then you know what? We ain't really into the circle. We think that we're into the circle, but we're talking about the spirit. It says, try the spirit, test the spirit, and see are you from the same spirit. That's why I know what Drew Ali say, some of his greatest followers are in the church. Now don't get me wrong. He's not talking about a Moorish American. Leave the temple and go on to church and say Drew Ali said something. That's not what he meant. That's not, because if you were in the Moorish temple, you know that the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. You know that it was the Roman nations that founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So now we're talking about Jesus. And Jesus means justice. And justice is dealing upright, equal, and fair. And when you begin to talk about a Moorish American, you will see him upright, fearless, and independent, because when you take that second level, you got to understand your earth task is done. You saying that my earth task is done. Now, Abraham was not always Abraham. He first was Abram, and then he became Abraham. He became Abraham when he found grace in the eyes of God. So now when you see a Moorish American, he got a ham on his name. The ham he got on his name is an eel and a bay. And when you take on the eel and the bay, it's just like taking on the ham, saying that my earth task is done. Now I'm in accord with the great God, Allah, because Drew Ali told us that, and we're talking about being a Muslim. A Muslim is one who lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We don't do the things that I'm doing. We don't do the things that you're doing. So the way that we come in unity is first, you come in unity with God. And then when you come in unity with God, then the Spirit going to pop up. But those things that we see taking place, that's not what the prophet tells us. You know what the prophet say? He said, won't you be like your prophet? I don't do this, and I don't do that. But I justify why I do it. And we talking about unity, but I heard a brother tell me today, I was on a conference call with him, I used to be with this grandbody. I used to be with that grandbody. You the one that's causing confusion there. Because Drew Ali said, I bought you everything that it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself. He was holding up two things in his hand, but when you turn around, you got your authority. So there's no excuse that every family can't teach it because Drew Ali gave it to us. He see what it is. You don't see nobody in the Church of God in Christ talk about the eight Church of God, AME Zion is wrong. Both of them following Jesus. He ain't the one that got it. And when somebody come and tell you, you know, you'll meet a Moorish American, and they say that temple ain't the right one, or this is what tells you what temple is the right one, is this book. Watch that person. Watch their words, their works, and their deeds. Because Drew Ali said your words, your works, and your deeds will be the proof of your messiahship. When you find a Moorish American, when you first meet him, he gonna say Islam. When you leave him, he gonna say peace. He's not gonna say Abaikani. He's not gonna say Assalamu alaikum, because Drew Ali said if there's a second language that we need to learn, that it should be Spanish. Now, let me get back to this, but I want to give honor to Eddie Ritchie. The funeral that we just had the other day, it was his daughter. You know, he used to be down, he used to cook, he's the best barbecue maker here in Portland, Oregon. He had his own jar of hot sauce. It was the best that they had that I've been hearing about. But he moved to Texas and came back to bury his daughter. I'm glad I could tell you one time when we was over at the Moorish Voice with the tent, how I met her. And that's how I knew her uncle's name was Bey brother, the Ritchie brother. And Melvin, our birthday the same year and the same month. So we had a relationship. But what took place was, when I first got here, brother, one of the Ritchie brothers was going around and having everybody to sign a petition because the European spirit took over Mac Dishman. And when they took over Mac Dishman, they fired a lot of those that looked like me and started bringing other concepts in. So they had a boxing team here all the years. I first learned about Portland. I knew Little 2 Pound was a boxer, so I knew about the Knott Street Gym. But Ernie was with the European named Quackenberg. This European was a European. They'd say, man, you can't do nothing with them niggas. He said, I got him. And he become like a father figure to them brothers. And they had, when Eddie was fighting, he said they had the top 8 all over his championship. Portland, Oregon was known as some top flight. You got that brother up there now. You know, that Fort Durant and lost in the last round because he got hit by something that he shouldn't have got hit by. So what Eddie did when he come back in town, they went back down Mac Dishman. And when they looked down Mac Dishman, I was telling Stan, who coached the boxers, I showed him Friday. I said, look what the Ritchie brothers did. They went to them people and they went out and put some more trophies and things out there in the place so people could look at it and see. So we like to give honor to that brother. So a lot of strong brothers come out of here. See, when you go across the country, you hear about Portland, Maine. You don't hear too much about Portland, Oregon. And that's strange because Portland, Oregon is the only constitution that had racism in it. Here in Portland, Oregon, back in the day, you had to be out of town by 6 o'clock. If you didn't get out of town by 6 o'clock, you would get punished. And that mentality is still here today. However, times have changed, so they got to treat you a little better. See? But the reason why Drew Ali gave us this flag, man, I've been whipped by many stripes. I've been whipped by many stripes. I got whips all on my back because of this flag. But this flag protects us in our infancy and our ignorance. Without being under that flag, the United States flag, any other country around the world could come in here, take over the United States, and we'd be right back in slavery. Remember Hitler? Hitler told the United States, if you get rid of those black stovepipes that you got, we'll come in and beat your butt. I remember we up on the DMZ. The Vietnamese said, hey, brother, we had a thing called DAP. DAP in Vietnamese means beautiful. We were shaking hands at the DMZ, and they tell us to go home. Say, what y'all doing over here? Won't you go home? This is not your war. But we signed up to go over there. Drew Ali told us that we were citizens. Nobody else told us that we were citizens. Drew Ali told us that we were citizens because Allah told him to tell us that. Because we asked him. So he had to hook us back up with the families of nations. That's just like you hear people talking about the 14th and 15th Amendment. The book said the 14th and 15th Amendment. Both the North and South in unit, placing the Southerner, which was at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal. And if all men are declared free and equal by the Constitution, since that Constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people and its citizens. So you know what? The 14th and 15th Amendment, Drew Ali Shaw. Now you might listen to these dudes with the UCC trying to use you and take your money. But Drew Ali told us all this. He told us that the 14th and 15th Amendment had nothing to do with us. He said the 14th and 15th Amendment brought Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. Let me say Jefferson Davis first. Because Jefferson Davis, if anybody got their amnesty, it was him because he was the president. Robert E. Lee and them worked for him. But the 14th and 15th Amendment, see, when you begin to talk about the 14th and 15th Amendment, and because it had nothing to do with us, when the North and South was fighting, these were two brothers, two sisters, from the same mother and the same father. But one wanted slavery and one didn't. Because we know what brought about slavery. What brought about slavery was the Dred Scott decision. And you looking at the Dred Scott decision, Chief Justice Roger B. Tanner say the words all men are created equal never meant to apply to the Negro, the colored, and the black. And I went crazy. Man, how could that be? I agree with that now. I agree with that. Because when you talk about Negro, colored, and black, that means you don't have your forefathers' religion, nor do you have a nationality. And if you don't have a nationality, you are no place on this earth. Because the book says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. So your father is the great God Allah. You see what Jesus said? He said, I'm your brother man. Just come to show the way to Allah. Don't praise me, praise Allah, the Holy One. Everybody, Drew Ali is my father. Drew Ali ain't your father. Even in the days, the ancient days, all the sisters used to say, brother prophet, brother prophet, brother prophet. And everybody wants to say, Drew Ali is the father. No, man, Allah is the father of the universe. The father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So Drew Ali says, study his teachings. Study him. If I can get you to think, you'll save yourself. So now we're talking about the heart. We're talking about the nearest place to meet Allah is in the heart. Now where's the heart? You talking about this heart right here to pump blood? Well, I got a bamboo heart in here. So I'm going to write this person a letter. And when I write them this letter, I'm writing them this letter from my heart. But the heart that I'm talking about is the heart of my mind. Because the flesh don't think. I can't write them from this physical heart because this physical heart don't think. So if I say think, then I'm going to tell you that in the beginning was the word. And somebody tell you in the beginning of the word, all I'm going to hear you is tell me, hey man, in the beginning was the word. But man thought the word. In the beginning was the thought. Thought is the cause of everything. Everything that you and I do has a lot to do with our thinking. If I want to go outside that door, I think about it and then I move it about. I move the flesh. I direct this flesh. I tell this flesh what to do and I tell this flesh what not to do. Or sometimes the flesh tells me because if I don't think. See? Because we keep talking about our five senses. Drew Ali told us about our five senses. But I come to find out that all the senses is smelling and tasting and hearing and touching and seeing. All that's physical. Your five senses is physical and has something to do with the body. But now we always talk about the seven. So there got to be a one on the plane of soul. And there got to be a sense in the spirit. So we talking about the seven. So now we bringing back up the two that's needed. Because, see, there was 2/5 that was missing. 5/5 all day in mathematics is a whole. So when Drew Ali came and Allah sent him, I knew why Allah sent him because he told me that I had 2/5 that was missing because the Europeans said that I was 3/5 of a man. So he bought me my nationality. He bought me my nationality. Now what does my nationality do? It hooked me back up with the family of nations. It has me worshiping under my own vine and fig tree and not somebody else's. I have my own customs. I have my own culture. I have my own heritage and I have my own traditions. And we was talking about that because we are not racist. We're not born racist. Where we come from, we have the Spirit of God in us and we would never put no one in slavery, perpetual slavery at that. So we are of that spirit. So that's your father. Now your mother is Mother Earth. Man derives his name from the earthland. Chinese are from China. Germans are from Germany. Vietnamese are from Vietnam. See, Allah gave every people on this top side planet mud a geographical location on which they could trace themselves back. Now, Brother Lynch-Bey, he was teaching in the temple Friday, and he was letting everybody know about when he went and got his DNA. See? Because everybody, they doing it now, and they doing some flip stuff, but when we all went and got our DNA, even those that's in the entertainment field, it took everybody to West Africa. The Ethiopians, who is really the Abyssinians named Ethiopians by the Greek, they tell us every day, we're not one of y'all. We didn't go through slavery. Slavery didn't come through this part of Africa. Slavery came through West Africa. And all up until today, when people used to come to the United States from Africa, it would always be West Africa. And the first time I seen one, he had one of the marks on his face because that was a tribal move. So when you begin to talk about the slave trade, you have to go to West Africa, because this is where the slave trade came about. So that's why in this era of time, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, but in this era of time, I'm Moorish. Did not we have a national name when first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century? Let me reiterate that. Did we have a national name? Unless you just tell me that I was running around Africa with bones in my nose. See? And when we got lessons here talking about Jew Ali, the professor of the Egyptian Adab, so we had the spiritual lessons that hook us back up with the family of David, just like Jesus. When Harold wanted to kill all the babies, where did Jesus go? Jesus went to Egypt land. He went to Egypt land because he could hide out there. Like right now, I can stay right here in North Portland, but if I go over there in Northwest Portland, they're going to lock me up if they're looking for me because I can fit in better where the Asiatics are. So Jesus went to Egypt. And when he went to Egypt, let me share something with you. When he went to Egypt, there was a brotherhood called the Essene Brotherhood. And there was two people, Elihu and Salome, who had taught his father and mother years before. So when Jesus had to flee to Egypt land, they took him in. See, they took him in and he lived. But John the Baptist did not live. They were looking for John. And John went in the marketplace and told the people, prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. He said, though you may live in sin, the poor cry in the street, but you regard them not. And you worship Allah with voice and lips, and your hearts are far away and set on gold. Why don't the older people come to the temple? Because they feel us. They feel the spirit. See, it's a spirit in this. You can't be gangster 6 days a week, and on the 7th, you want to talk about some spirituality. Brother told me one day, that's my spiritual teacher. Man, this dude's involved in hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything in harm. So yeah, he is your spiritual teacher, but what spirit was you? See, we are spirit. We are all spirit, because it's not in flesh to think, and it's not in bone to reason. So it say meet God in spirit and in truth. So we talking about the spirit of truth. We're not talking about the spirit of Lucifer. We're not talking about the spirit of Satan. We're not talking about the spirit of devil, dragon, and beast. And when you look at it, they done took our forefathers, buried them in Vatican Square, and took over our name. Got us thinking that our customs, our culture, our heritage, and our tradition is not authentic. When Allah blessed us, we the ones got Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. These are our forefathers. I'm not mad with you, and I'm not mad with nobody. But it's pathetic how I used to be. Man, it was pathetic how I used to be. One more time. It was pathetic how I used to be. I used to grab the Bible and read the Bible. And I was taught as a child that before you read any Bible, the first thing you do is investigate the author. So now I got the King James Version. And I come to find out his name ain't King James. His name is James Stewart of England. And I found out all these things that he done. and we had a new person that come in the temple the other day. So what did? We took them back to one of the things that Japhet did. I mean, one of the things that King James did. In his version, he changed the genealogy. He made Ham the second son. When you know Africa is the cradle of civilization, he took that from us. He made Ham the second son and made Shem the first son, and Japhet stayed as the youngest son. But you know, when you look up Japhet, listen now, this is Drew Ali talking to us because I learned it. When you begin to talk about Japhet, the youngest son, it's going to take you to Gog and Magog. And when you begin to talk about Gog and Magog, you're talking about a diabolical spirit. And that kind of spirit is the spirit that I've been in for so many years. You know, the books say here in the Moorish Science Temple that the highest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths. That means that those of us that have been to our lowest ain't nowhere to go but to our highs. I've been in contact with a brother. And the brother that I'm in contact with is a brother by the name of Brother Eel. I'm going to just leave it like that. But his partner was a brother Eel. And these brothers was going real hard inside certain places. And Allah just put us back in contact. And he got a book out, and a lot of things is out about this brother. But man, this brother here was one of the best lessons that I was able to learn in my life. Because when you come up, you got Big Bobo Joe and Big Fuda Nunu, and a lot of brothers was coming up as Moorish Americans, and we had some things that we was dealing with, but these were the same brothers that was much older than me, and I used to hear their name ringing in the day. So I liked it, because it helped me to get on that straight and narrow path and to see Drew Ali for who he really was. And what I mean by that, because many of us are called, but only a few are chosen. And we need to represent the prophet by setting a pattern. It's a man need a pattern for his life. He loved to follow and not to lead. Now, you see me today, or if I see you today, and if I see you a month from now, I don't look for you to be that same person. And what I see all the time, I see brothers, they talk about this brother that's been around, was back in 1929, and this brother was back in 29. We don't know where them spirits are right now. Them spirits might be one with our Father God Allah, because you might have a brother that take a drink, but you might have a brother that robs something too. So when you look at them, one of them is weaknesses and one of them is strength. You have a weakness, you're trying to stop doing this, but you're just doing that because you're trying to do something that's other than what it was. So now you tell me that you love your people. You say you love your people and you would die for your people. And yeah, but look what else you're doing to your people. Rome give you this, Rome give you that, and you take it right in our community. How do I know? Because I do the same thing. I'm keep talking about I'm with the prophet. I ain't with the prophet. I'm with the P-R-O-F-I-T, not P-R-A-P-H-E-T. I'm not with that one. There's a lot of prophet that's going on. So Drew Ali, he told us, he said, let me read it right here. I am your brother man. Just come to show the way to Allah. You shall not worship man. Praise Allah, the Holy One. I was talking to Lynch-Bey today. Lynch-Bey, he been up here before on a television show. And we was talking about brothers. Said, man, they've been dead for 50 years and people still talking about they follow him. Now, other than that, you follow the prophet. See, we follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. I follow the prophet. That's who I follow. And I'm doing a good job at it now, because the reason why I didn't do it before, because I didn't want to. See, I tore myself away from Allah. I debased myself. See, and you debase yourself by living according to hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harm. I came to you and I had horns, but you couldn't see them, because I'm spirit and a part of Allah. You can't see me. You could only see my attributes, and that attribute tell you who I am. So it's been a blessing. I couldn't get Brother Mayweather here, and I wanted to talk about, thank Mac Dishman for putting our Asiatic trophies back up there, because them brothers put a lot of work in. A lot of them is not here on earth, and their family's still here. And their family go through there to work out and things and see granddad and pop. That really is a blessing. So it's always a blessing to come by here and talk about the prophet. Like I say, I had an agenda for somebody else to come, and they didn't manifest, but I'm still here. So in conclusion, Brother Boston Hill is not here. He always sings. So I'm going to sing for Boston Hill. Praise Allah. Great change since I've been born. There's a great change since I've been born. The things I used to do, I don't do no more. Well, those things I used to do, I don't do no more. Well, those things I used to do, I don't do no more. There's been a great change since I've been born. The places I used to go, I don't go no more. Well, those places I used to go, I don't go no more. Well, those places I used to go, I don't go no more. There's been a great change since I've been born. The friends I used to have, I don't have no more. Well, those friends I used to have, I don't have no more. Well, those friends I used to have, I don't have no more. There's been a great change since I've been born. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree, the uniting of Asia. At this time, I recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Wade in the water, wade in the water, miles and wade in the water, Drew Ali done trouble.